Texas, and as the Gator goes across this one final time, chance for you to figure out who you're cheering for, and we appreciate all of you joining us here live on runnerspace.com. And again, if you enjoy the action of Nike Cross Regionals, this is just whetting the appetite, the opening salvo to a fantastic day of 5 regionals. We'll have coverage for you across the board. Check out runnerspace.com because some of our coverage will be on different streams as we kind of collapse all these 5 regional championship windows into about the next 3.5 hours or so.
There's a lot to look forward to. This is the first of 10 championship races. I mean, so much excitement with all this building up to go to Portland.
2 teams automatically will advance to Nike Cross Nationals in early December at Glendevere Golf Course in Portland. The top 5 individuals across the line get automatic invites. And of course, if any of those 5, which could be the case here in Texas, where if you're also a member of a team that qualifies, then they'll go down that list beyond the 5th spot on the order. So top 10, really an important finish on the individual side, top 2, and then perhaps even if you're 3rd or 4th, not unprecedented to see a team elevated out of this region as an at-large selection. Final moments of reflection here on a spectacular sunny day in Texas. The racing set for the South. Championship window underway on this Super Saturday for Nike Cross Regionals. The South Boys Championship over 5,000 meters is underway.
One thing I did want to kind of mention, going back to the team side, as far as individuals, like we could probably expect maybe some of those individuals, like the top individual, maybe in 7th or 8th place just because of how good Carroll XC and Venom XC are with their depth. So it primarily, traditionally you probably see those individuals finish in the top 5, but that may not be the case today, Paul, just because of how good these teams are.
Pretty good flat, straight cadence for the runners to get into a rhythm. You can see behind them the spectators, which have been amazed by the crowds here. And, part of this is the fact that not only are we showing these championship windows, but you've been calling them thousands of runners at all these regionals taking part in this experience. Some of them in those races you called today will be front and center in a future version of this championship window.
We've already had 6 of those races go down, 5 of them being those Rising Star races. They said in total there were 15 races today, and over 3,000 student athletes are out on this course, which, again, I don't know if that's a record number, but it's pretty high number for how this sport has grown the last couple of years.
So after that long straight start, they get a pretty tight right turn, and then they're right into these woods here, and we'll get them up and underway. And, that's the beauty also of cross country is you get that early opportunity to maybe find your place in that lead group, but once you get into the woods, there's not a lot of room to get around each other.
No, and that's why I said at the beginning of this, like, you have to make a decision early on in the race, which you normally wouldn't necessarily have to, be panic or whatever about early on, but with such tight, narrow course like this, I mean, it feels like you're in a different world right now from going from the soccer fields to this trail. It just seems like we're on a totally different course now.
So 2 minutes into the racing here in the boys championship window of the Nike Cross Regionals South. And as they'll emerge out of this initial trip through the woods, early breakaway race here. We'll have updated standings in both the individual and the team races on 2 different splits, not necessarily in specific distances here, but just we call it lap 1 and lap 2 here in the South.
And they're relatively around a mile or so. I mean, it's lap 2 is a little bit past the 2-mile mark, or a little, I guess, before or after. But you really get a sense and trying to see who is our leader right here. I do see a couple of the Carroll athletes in the mix. So as expected, the Carroll athletes having a good start in the early action. And I think that's actually Adrian Rule, Paul. I think that's our leader, 28:47, our current leader right now.
Adrian Rule is a junior out of San Antonio and ambitiously taking to the lead here in the early going. Again, just 3 minutes of racing, as we often do see some of the athletes behind him said not so fast, and we're going to get back into this. And Alexander Acuna, I believe, from Denton, Texas, also among those leaders now. The senior who was third at the Texas 6A.
Yeah, really had a good season so far. Was second at the Cowboy Jamboree in Stillwater, which, if anybody knows the grinder course out there, it's one of the more challenging courses in the United States. And had a great, like I said, great season so far, and was 15th in this race last year.
So a couple of early lead changes here. The front of the group seemingly spreading out just a little bit as the racing behind them will unfold in that team race that we're also keeping an eye on. Again, 2 teams will automatically advance out of this South region to Nike Cross Nationals. And it was, coming into this, your team at Diestack Keenan talking about this really being kind of South Lake Carroll and Venom, which is out of Austin, kind of as they have done battle all year long, all the way through the state championships, figuring to be the 2 favorites coming in.
Yeah, and especially what they were able to go back and forth with each other at the state championships. Just only 5 points separating those two. I think it was 4 points actually separating those 2 teams at that state meet. So again, they have very good familiarity with each other. They know each other well, and it's no surprise that those 2 teams are out front. You see Caden Leonard right there sitting in second and third position. He's out front. I mean, I would talk with him the other day. They're more valuing the part of the team aspect rather than him just getting the individual win. The individual win for him would just be the icing on the cake.
Well, we're going to start to see our first splits come across as they come through that timing apron, and Acuna will be officially the leader at the conclusion of that first lap of this course. So they're going to go back and see the same part of the course they just traversed, with Peterson in second, Caden Leonard in third, Noah Stroman in fourth, Ben Montgomery, you talked about as one of the favorites in the early going. He's sitting there in that 5th position. So the emerging elite here emerging to the lead as we get our first lap complete here at the South.
Looking on the team side, Carroll XC had talked about their depth up front, and they got 4 guys within 3 seconds of each other. So currently right now sitting atop the team standings, Bridgen in second with 76 points. It looks like maybe actually 68 right now. But for the most part, Carroll's doing exactly what they need to do, running as a pack, and that's what they've been doing all season long, and it's worked out for them.
Again, Leonard leading it for Southlake, the junior 6A champion in the state of Texas, was third here a year ago. He's the top returner. And, again, those are confidence-building races when you're in the midst of trying to win now a championship here. So he's got that, kind of top returner marker. He's got the confidence of having won the Texas meet. He knows that the strength of this field is pretty much everyone he saw and beat at the Texas State meet, and now confidently there among the leaders as we're now almost 6.5 minutes into racing.
He's a confident veteran, Paul. Again, I'm just chatting with him. He knows what he's capable of. He knows what he brings to the table, and this isn't his first rodeo. This is his 3rd time racing at this meet. He's trying to get back to nationals for the 3rd time in his career, so this doesn't faze him at all whatsoever.
Leonard was 21st at Nike Cross Nationals a year ago in Portland, Oregon, trying to get back there where we suspect conditions may not be as warm and bright as it is here in Texas. That is one of the challenges for some of these regions, and we're basically across the South today with the Southeast Regional in North Carolina, and also we've got the Southwest Regional. That's the one to look forward to coming up here shortly in the great state of Arizona. Seems like the lead group now kind of settling in here as they kind of work their way through this second of 3 loops of the course.
One thing I've noticed in the first couple of NXRs the last couple of weeks is they went out really hot. This race feels like it's gone out pretty conservative. I mean, 4:51, at least on this course, is not necessarily a hot pace, but it's not necessarily comfortable either.
Coming into that little grove where they do the windabout, and chance for some of those leaders to look over their shoulders, look for either a teammate in the context of that team race, or see where some of the other favorites are, but still strung out a little bit, but a pretty good consistent cadence of runners here as they go back into the woods. It was a year ago when Joseph Barriola set the course record here, 14:52.9, and so as Keenan mentioned, maybe slightly more of a tactical, strategic pace here in 2024, but a lot can happen here as we go into the latter stages of this race.
But sometimes those strategic type of races, they turn into a massive kickers race the last kilometer, and kind of what happened last year with Barriola and Adam Burleson. Like, it really came down to that last 400, 300 meters or so, and in the end, Joseph Barriola had the better kick, and it's funny that we say 14:52 is a relatively slow time these days, but that's the stage we're in, Paul.
The speed that we've seen across all of these regionals, across all these high school events, really just a reflection of what kind of depth we're now seeing in not only cross country, but distance racing up and down the divisions on a day that also features the 3 major divisions in NCAA crowning their cross-country champions across the country here on this Saturday. 5 regionals across Nike Cross Regionals, all trying to start to fill out that full card of entrants that will toe the line in Portland in just a few weeks. This is a kind of a squeezing of the regionals into 3 weeks in November. No regionals next week. So all these folks are going to have a little bit of rest and maybe a little bit more fresher legs when they get to Portland.
So the people that are going to have the most probably fresh legs out of anybody is the Heartland region, because they ran 2 weeks ago. And then next it's going to be Northwest and Midwest. And then it will be all the 5 regions this week. And then when you throw California into the mix, they have a week to wait until they go to Nike Cross Nationals, since their state championships are the following week.
So they're back out of the woods and on to the fields, and going to work their way now to this second concluding lap of 3. Again, 5,000 meters the distance. Look at that crowd now, 3, 4, maybe 5 deep in some places, as they start to see this lead group start to dwindle a little bit. What looks like now maybe about 10 guys within about 10 meters of each other as they come up to another plateau and another raised spot here, and they'll come across that second lap split with Caden Leonard officially in the lead, but behind him Ben Montgomery, Danny Torres, Lathan Luter, Brady Mullen, and Blake Bullard. It is a solid group here at the front, and we'll keep an eye as we're waiting for the 5 members of Carroll to cross the line, as again the top 5 will give you your scores for the team here trying to get to Nike Cross Nationals once again.
So 4 of the top 6 right now, they all ran at NXN last year, so they're in a pretty good position and know what that position is like racing out front. So it's good for Caden Leonard, Ben Montgomery, Danny Torres, and Blake Bullard. But if I'm Brady Mullen and Lathan Luter, I'm a little nervous, because I know the chase pack is coming right for us, and those individual spots are definitely up for grabs. But again, with Carroll's depth, being maybe 3rd or 4th overall is probably a good thing, because just like I said, that's probably where the individuals are at.
Well, and again, you're not thinking about this in the midst of the race, but because of the way the advancement procedures are, anybody who's part of a team that advances will automatically get a spot as an individual as well as part of their team. So in this case right now, Leonard leading, he would defer his individual spot to the 6th guy in the order, but guess who was 6th at the end of lap 2? That's his teammate Blake Bullard. So conceivably, Carroll's top 2 would afford people like Noah Stroman, and down in 7th position or 8th position, Aiden Montesseri, who could get in as well.
The same thing can be said about Ben Montgomery, who, if you look at the team race right now, they're in 2nd with 79 points. So right now, at this point, the individual spots 1, 2, and 6, so those are all teammates. Those are all team racers. Now it's spots 3rd, 4th, 7th, 8th, and 9th that are all trying to vie for those individual spots.
Surprised by Venom currently in 5th?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I'm like Hudson Haley, as I said, has had a struggled year a little bit. I mean, he's been their low stick all season long, and it's just been really inconsistent the last couple of weeks. So, but then again, I mean, Bridgeland's had a great year. You have a really good runner in Ben Montgomery, who's sitting right there in that 3rd position. So yeah, the top 2 teams right now are running as good as I thought they would.
Well, we said we had 10 guys coming through that second lap, but now down to just 4 on your screen as we show you the leaders, but it's 2 by 2 now. A little bit of separation here at the front.
So right now on the team side, again, we're talking about, Carroll XC. They're trying to get that championship. But Bridgeland, they're doing everything they can too, because they're trying to qualify for their first ever Nike Cross Nationals, and it's going to be close. The team race still within striking distance. You got Bentonville, who out of Arkansas, who had a great year last year. They're still in the hunt. Eastwood, don't count them out either. But really, it's going to come down now to what we see up front. And Caden Leonard is the showman right now.
Only 2 states have qualified teams in the history of Nike Cross Nationals, and going back to Nike Team Nationals in 2004, Texas has had 35 teams advance. Arkansas twice. Louisiana, Oklahoma, and Mississippi have never qualified teams for Nike Cross Nationals. And right here in the front, it is Caden Leonard of Carroll, top returning finisher from a year ago, trying to close out this trip through the woods and back onto the field of play for a victory here in one of his best performances of the year, and a year full of great performances.
And this is a year I feel like it's so wide open on the individual side when it comes to the top national individuals. When everyone toes the line at Nike Cross Nationals, you kind of throw everything out the table from stats and rankings, and you kind of just go out there and race. Kind of like last year with how the conditions played out, with you really didn't know what to expect because of the rain and the mud, and Danny Simmons was the favorite, and JoJo Jordan emerged out of nowhere.
Well, the Gator now emerging out of the woods along with the leader, Caden Leonard. It looks like he's opened up about 20-meter lead, and he's going to turn himself loose on the turf and start to get the benefit of knowing he's closing in on the finish line, but also this crowd going to start helping him to the finish line as well.
And they're trying to help him to see if they can get as close to that record time as well. 14:52.9 is the time to beat by Joseph Barriola last year. We're at 14:30 right now, and maybe about less than 200 meters to go. It'd be really close. I'm not sure, but nonetheless, though, he's really opened up this last lap.
Turnover looks good here as he's going to make one final rise up to that final turf and then going to make the move for home. Takes a big look back as he's going to weave his way into this large crowd, and he'll make the turn for home. Caden Leonard going to take the victory here at Nike Cross Regional South. He's got another ticket to Portland in early December. And now the race for second and third. Ben Montgomery and Brady Mullins side by side. Danny Torres going to finish in fourth. Noah Stroman there in fifth. Blake Bullard closing in here in seventh. And the rest of the field starts to work their way down, and we'll keep an eye on those team scores up above as Carroll expected to close out the victory. Look at that battle down to the end as everyone looking for a good position here in the final few strides to the finish line. But a victory by Caden Leonard here of Carroll in 15:02.7.
It looked really comfortable, too, at the finish. Just looked like he was just taking this race and just seeing how it feels out. But with things outstanding in the team race, I'm looking now at the individual side. So at this point, just based on Carroll XC and Bridgeland XC being at first and second, our individuals will be Brady Mullen, Danny Torres again, Noah Stroman, Aiden Montesseri, and then Joaquin De La Cruz.
Wait for all those results to be confirmed and official. You see Venom's got 3 of their 5 across the line, one of the pre-race favorites to get a team nod. And again, if you don't finish in the top 2, and conceivably that could be someone like Venom, then you're trying to do kind of the beauty contest and make the case to the committee that after the end of these regionals, you deserve one of those at-large selections.
And at this point right now, Paul, we're no change in the top 2. It's Carroll and Bridgeland. They've punched their tickets to Portland. And for Carroll, this is a huge deal because this is the 16th time they will be going to Nike Cross Nationals. No one has ever gone that many times. They broke the record, actually, I think last year when they went for a 15th time, but 16. It's pretty good.
It is a pretty consistent culture of excellence that they've created there at South Lake Carroll in Texas, and a 36th advancement by a team from Texas. And, of course, if we confirm it too, Bridgeland going to be the 37th team to advance it. Well, no team out of the South has been brought to Nike Cross Nationals as an at-large since Eastwood was advanced back in 2019. Those scores a little bit dynamic because they're removing the unattached athletes and then rescoring everything. And so that's why you're seeing those numbers deviate just a little bit, but the placings are not. Carroll, Bridgeland, and Venom, 1, 2, and 3.
A lot closer race than it was last year, Paul. As far as what Carroll was able to score, the score it looks like at this point unofficially 56 points. Last year they had 34 points, and I think they won by over 70 points. So a little bit of a different race, but still, that's 13 points is a relatively comfortable lead, and you were and confident enough that you can get the job done.
Well, Carroll got the job done on the team side. As our final racers coming across line here in this boys championship race. And let's head down to the finish line to hear from our winner from Carroll, Caden Leonard.
Up, runnerspace. I'm here with the legend, Caden Leonard. Caden got out there and won the race today. Absolutely crushed it. Did you get the course record?
No, last year we went a little faster, but I think it was a little hotter today. So.
Yeah. We were talking about the team race. He obviously won individually, but we think South Lake Carroll might have won individually, which means they're going to Portland, Oregon next week. Have you been to Portland? Are you excited?
Yeah, this has been my third time, so it'll be pretty good.
Third time in 3 years going to Portland for NXR or NXN. I'll be out there with him, but yeah, how'd you feel today?
I felt all right. You know, like the warm up, I was a little iffy and a little sickness going around, but I was really just focused on the team and doing it for them, and so took the individual pressure off, just worrying about the team. So it was pretty good. So.
That's right. We got the Dragons. So Caden ran 4:02 as a sophomore. Obviously, he won this race by a country mile. We don't know what's in store the rest of this year. What plans you got?
Yeah, I mean, I'm planning on going up to Full Locker next week, but you know, focusing on that team title at NXN and trying to podium and individually go get after it and show them what Texas is about.
So. That's right, Texas, baby. And I guess we got one last question. What do you do with your free time, man?
In my free time, I like to go hunting and fishing. So
that's what we like, baby. Well, thank you guys for tuning in, and congratulations to Caden, man. He's a legend.
Thank you.
Yeah, good job, man. Congrats, man.
Now, Craig English, you are a legend in your own right, though. You get a little bit of haircut. I kind of you have to do a second look there.
He's had a lot of looks the last couple of years. I like to call him America's sweetheart, too, just because everybody loves him. I will say this, though, Paul. He was very emotional after the U.S. championships, and, you know, he's been through a lot these last couple of years, and I feel like he's finally in a place now where he feels like he's happy with the sport, and it showed really when he made that U.S. final in the 1500, which was probably the hardest team to make it to go to the Olympics this year.
No question about that. As we look at some of the highlights here from this boys championship race, things